Good afternoon, Louisiana, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Thursday, November 17th. Zach Ewing with Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru here with you on this fine, chilly afternoon, getting you ready for the weekend in sports and sports betting. We've got Saints-Rams, of course, LSU's home finale, their senior day against UAB. That one could be tougher than people expect, I think. We'll talk about that. Talk about the rest of the slate in the NFL and college football. Maybe a little Pelicans and a little World Cup. So the World Cup starts on Sunday, kind of a strange fall event. Get your hot takes ready, there. Jim. Get them ready.
Here they are. Here's my hot takes. I'm going to give them to you early. Sneak peek.
Oh, man. See, you're just
Downer.
Not
Here we go.
Who cares?
You're just not
it's football
a world sports fan, then.
Yeah, I don't care.
There are literally, I'm going to say it with a B, billions of people who care. Billions.
There's like 8 people in America who care. It's football season.
Uncle Big Nick cares.
He's completely being facetious.
Oh, I'm going to take it for his face value. He's never facetious. Kyle says, "What's up?"
15-2, baby. 15-2.
Jim buried the Saints like weeks ago. I think you did too,
Many
Kyle.
weeks ago.
Yeah. Let's talk about those Saints. First of all, we are brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. You can get in on the action. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. If you have not already signed up, your first bet, risk-free up to $1,250. When we say risk-free, we mean if you lose, you get whatever you bet back in a free bet. So you basically get a second bite at the apple. Also, we have a special offer for you. If you go to LSUposter.com, you can get a set of 3 LSU championship poster pages from front pages of national championships past sent free to your house. That's a $90 value. So go to LSUposter.com if you want to take advantage of that promo.
I'm only doing it if I can get a World Cup front page.
We might be able to. Hey, if the U.S. is in the World Cup final, even snoozers like you are going to watch.
Not if they don't do it at a proper time.
It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I mean, I might watch if I'm not working.
Yeah, well, Kyle says he was right on the same difference. That means you were dead wrong, actually. Although they're not going to go 2-15.
No.
Dennis Allen on the conspiracy to keep the team from covering the over. I don't know if it's a conspiracy or just a lot of.
It's ineptitude.
It's a perfect storm of. There is some ineptitude. I agree with you. There's also been some bad luck, some injuries.
Oh God.
But the Saints are favored this week somehow, despite all of that. They were favored by as many as 4 points this week. It's back down to 3.
Because Matt Stafford is playing.
Yeah, Matt Stafford is playing. That's why the line moved. I think this, if anything, Jim, and you've said this, shows the Rams are just as big of a mess, if not more, than the Saints right now.
Oh, they are. They're completely a mess. And Cooper Kupp not playing is a big deal for them. We'll get into what I think about the game later on, but anybody who wants to hear my rants and raves, there's plenty of them on Datitude. I'm done. I don't normally react tweet. I usually wait to tweet about anything until after I've had time to digest it. But when I got the news yesterday about Dalton staying in, I couldn't help it. I'm done with this coaching staff. I mean, look, I don't wish for anyone to be fired. I've been fired many times in my life over the last 10 years, and it's no fun thing. And I don't wish it on any human being. But, dude, I mean, if you're trying to get fired, if you keep making these bonehead, I said it 5 weeks ago. It's a move that gets you fired, and he keeps doing it, and he keeps getting the same results, and he gets what he deserves at some point.
Spencer, Kyle brings up a good point too.
Who cares? I mean, come on.
Is he not fully healthy? If he's not fully healthy, if he's healthy enough to back up,
if he wasn't healthy
enough to start.
If he was healthy, he wouldn't say he was healthy. He said,
"Yeah." I mean, I think that it's probably legitimate that he has some lingering effects of the back injury, and that maybe he's not 100%. But if he's good enough to back up, he's good enough to start, right?
Yeah, what doesn't make sense to me is that in week 3 he started against Carolina and clearly looked injured, and said, all right, we're gonna sit him down a few weeks to get healthy. But that's been, what are we on now? Week 11. That's 2 months. That's 2 months. That doesn't make any sense. Makes zero sense to me. It just tells me that DA is super stubborn and he must have a serious bromance for Andy Dalton. But it's going to get him fired if he doesn't make the switch, because I know the defense has a lot to do with the success of the team, but the fact is the defense is not elite, so you need to be able to put points on the board. And to me, Jameis Winston gives you a better chance to do that than Andy Dalton.
I'm going to give you a little theory here. If it's stubbornness, and I really think I really think the guy making the decision is the little clipboard holder, otherwise known as Pete Carmichael. But I think that he's going to put Dalton in this week. If they lose again, and then he gets to put Jameis in against San Francisco, and then he gets his head pounded into the turf and gets to say, "See, I told you," and then everybody else can say, "I told you, it doesn't matter." Well, of course it doesn't matter against San Francisco. You're going to lose to San Francisco no matter who you put in there.
I hit the Niners on a Super Bowl bet this week. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that's the best team in the NFL. I know you did, but I don't know about this. There's a guy named Belichick.
I was going to say Bill Belichick might think that's
Bill Parcells. Really, yeah,
Mike Tomlin.
I don't know about that, but
that's ridiculous.
Coda says we need a coach that shows passion for the game and his team. I see more emotion from D. I mean, I will say, I think the even keel coach works when things are going well, right? Like you never want to get too high, you never want to get too low. I get that, but Jim, you were saying this weeks ago, and I thought maybe you were jumping the gun at that point. Turns out you were exactly right. At some point, you got to light a fire under these guys, and Dennis Allen is not a fire lighter.
Or at least get players to light a fire under the guys. You got to have 3 or 4 players, captains, that are going to stand out and you say, "Look, I need to lean on you guys. You guys need to be the voice inside of this line." There's no voice anywhere.
They're leaders. They're leaders, right?
Demario
Davis, Alvin Kamara, and we'll leave out Matthew and Jarvis Landry because this is their first year. They're leaders of this team are kind of soft-spoken. They're lead by example guys. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But when you're 3-7 and staring into the abyss, that like those guys are not the ones who are going to turn things around.
The thing that's hardest to take, I guess, is this was never a problem under Sean Payton because he would never let it be a problem. He obviously he's the leader, and Drew Brees also was a leader by example. I mean, you saw him with the rah-rah before games and stuff, but he wasn't really a rah-rah guy. That was out of character for him. That wasn't something he really did in a locker room and things like that. But I've seen things this year that I haven't seen. I've been in the locker room where, and I'm not going to call out any specific players because I don't want to here, but there are players that I would never expect to not talk, and people say, "I'm not talking today," and you just don't see that. You would never see that in a Sean Payton locker room. You just wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're watching Bayou Bets on bet.nola.com, brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook. Hit us up on the Bayou Bets YouTube page. Leave your comments or your questions. By the way, if you're watching on Twitter, we will not be able to see your comments. So you'll have to go over to the Bayou Bets YouTube page.
You can. I have my Twitter up. You can tweet me at Jim Derry Jr.
Yeah. Either way, we'll get your comments up, but they do not come in through our system. We'll get our Saints Rams picks in by the end of the show. But for now, let's pivot. Let's talk a little more NFL Week 11 slate, guys. It starts tonight. Titans at Packers. I can already tell Jim and I are going to disagree on this one.
Go ahead, Mabel.
Look, I just can't buy. I'm not going to bet against the Titans because I'm sick of losing money, frankly. But I can't. I just look at the roster. I look at what they've done, and I can't get behind it.
How can you get behind the Packers? They had one good quarter in the last 6 weeks.
Well, that's true too. That's why I'm staying away. But maybe
it's
the
not
under.
A stay away. I mean, it seems to me it's a pretty easy bet. I mean, I guess there's no such thing as an easy bet, and we'll see in about 6 hours when the game's over. But I mean, I don't understand. To me, this line. If Green Bay doesn't win last week, it's an even. It's even. And I mean, there's no weather that's going to make a difference. It's going to be cold, but not ridiculously cold.
12-mile-an-hour winds, usually nothing.
30 degrees, no wind to speak of, no precipitation. And Green Bay has the 28th ranked run defense in the NFL. That means Derrick Henry all day. So to me, it seems like a fairly, put it this way, you certainly cannot bet on Green Bay. If you don't want to bet on the Titans like you don't, and I understand, then don't bet. But to me, it's Titans all the way, or don't bet.
Yeah. Spencer, as a fantasy guy, I don't think this one probably gets you too excited. Derrick Henry, his player props already almost up at 100 yards, but outside of that, hard to expect a lot of production from anybody here.
Yeah, I think Christian Watson could be sneaky though. He's coming off the huge week from last week, and I think he'll be able to carry that momentum over, being that Green
Leaving
Bay
him on the bench.
doesn't have doesn't have a whole lot of other options, and also the fact that Tennessee has a pretty leaky secondary. They give up a lot to opposing receivers, so I'm thinking this could be a decent night for Aaron Rodgers, even though it'll be cold, because I think that's the weakness of Tennessee's defense. So I'm thinking he'll be able to do pretty good. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, just 1 week. He's been bad overall," but I'm not ready to bury him just yet. I think Green Bay goes in there and gets a win.
Spencer, I have to ask you a fantasy question on him, because
All right.
I think he's gonna be a really good player, and I think he's gonna have moments this year where he's gonna be good. But it doesn't scare you that a guy that comes out of nowhere has this big week, and then the reason why I just picked him up because a guy in my league actually dropped him, so I immediately picked him up, and I like him for like when I get to the playoffs and need another receiver. But it doesn't worry you to try to go in and cash in on a guy that was so big last week, and
Yeah,
that always worries me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, you definitely can't expect him to repeat that performance, but I just feel like that is that I think that a switch flipped there. Like I think he'll be a lot more productive moving forward. I don't say that too often. Normally after 1 week, I'm like, you can't buy that small sample size, but it's just to me it made too much sense because Christian Watson's such a physical freak. He's got all the tools necessary to be an elite receiver, and he's working with a future Hall of Famer there, 4-time MVP. So I'm thinking that's the real deal.
If you were certain Mike Williams was starting this week, would you start him over Mike Williams?
Oh man, I don't know. I think I'd start him because I don't know how effective Mike Williams will be coming off the ankle. So yeah, I'd start him.
Okay, I have a choice to make tonight.
All right, Spencer, you got a pick for the game?
Yeah, I'm going with Green Bay. Call me Mabel or whatever, but I'm thinking that's the play here. All right, yeah,
I don't know that the public is necessarily on Green Bay overly compared to Tennessee.
I'll tell you in just a second, but go ahead.
Because the line has been moving, and typically the public won't move a line. It's moved up to 3.5. So we'll see. I do think it's an interesting game. I think it's for the Packers probably an elimination game. Tennessee, I mean, let's talk about the rest of the NFL slate, because before we get into college football, it is the week of road favorites, and it's also the week of strange teams being favored. Like the Falcons are favored by 3 over the Bears. That seems surprising to some people. Cowboys favored on the road seems surprising to some people. So you're seeing a lot of road favorites. You're seeing a lot of teams, makes you scratch your head a little bit. I mean, this could really be one of those wild weeks, Jim.
Yeah. First of all, 60% of the money is on 60% of the money is on Green Bay. So anyway,
what percent of the bets?
I can't see that for some reason.
It's hard to say then.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a weird week. I think it's a week where people trying to get cute and knockout are those who are still left. Like I have 2 picks, and I did not try to get cute in any way, shape, or form. I did something I rarely do, especially at this point of the season when I only have 2 picks left. I use Baltimore for both my picks because I think there's going to be some weird upsets this week. I think the Bears are going to win. I think the Texans have a good chance to win. I think Giants have a good chance to lose. I think there's a lot of moderate mini field goal favorites that are going to lose this week. And I think it's going to be a weird week in the NFL.
Yeah, if you're in a pick'em contest with just straight up picks, don't just pick favorites this week, because that's not going to do well for you. I agree with you. My survivor, you've got to pick 2 teams, so I took the Ravens and the Niners on Monday night. But the
Niners even scare me being on a neutral field, and I hate division games. And I mean, I think that's a good pick, and I think that's safer than a lot of the other ones. But even that kind of scares me.
And you're right, Kyle. Bill's also now on a neutral field, so those are really outside of the Ravens. Your picks are Bills on a neutral field, Niners on a neutral field. Eagles at Colts, like Spencer. I think the Colts are live. I think Jeff Saturday. I mean, say what you want about the guy's experience. He's lit a fire under him a little bit.
They're going to get destroyed.
I mean, I think they could cover. I don't think they'll win, but I like them to cover because I think Philly
Going to get
on
destroyed.
a little bit of a downward spiral. Not that they're going to completely fall apart, but I don't think they're quite as strong as their record says. So, yeah, I think it could be a decent play.
The thing that concerns me a little bit about Philly, and I'm not picking them to lose straight up, but they do have some injuries along the defensive line. Indy's going to want to run the ball.
A.J. Brown banged up.
Philly's on a short week. Like some of those things just worry you a little bit about Philly.
I think that Philly is going to flex muscles. And here's the thing. Good teams come off of a loss like that and are ticked off. And Indy, because they beat you think the Saints are dysfunctional? The Raiders are worse. At least you don't see Andy Dalton crying on a podium. I mean, the Raiders are crying about how there's people on this team who don't care and blah, blah, blah. Oh, give me a break. It's football. They're shooting things into their bodies just so they can go to practice. So does everybody else. So, I mean, they beat a dysfunctional team that's worse than the Saints. The team that the Saints beat 24-0. I don't give the Raiders any credit whatsoever, and the Raiders are going to get their butts kicked this week, and I think the Eagles are going to take out their frustrations on Matt Ryan, and Jeff Saturday is still a ridiculous hire.
You don't see Matt Ryan as a 39-yard rush every week?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Getting that done. It took him like 12 seconds to run 39 yards.
I wonder what kind of odds you could have got on the over 30 yards rushing.
Yeah.
His over-under was probably
2.5, something like that.
Something like that.
I do like this take from Kyle. I don't know that NFL coaches are all goobers, but there are some who make decisions every week where you're just like, what? Like you've got such a galaxy brain on this stuff. Just do something that has common sense to it. And sometimes I don't know that Jeff Saturday will be a long-term success, but he has simplified things for them a little bit in that, no. Sam Ehlinger is not better than Matt Ryan. Go to Matt Ryan. Let's run the ball. Let's see what we can do. Just a few things that make sense. Alyssa says, talking about the Saints, I assume, the locker room vibe is off. Play calling is horrible. Hard to argue with those points. Want to move on to college just for a couple of minutes before we go back to our picks and do a little World Cup as well. LSU 8-2 home finale. Honestly, don't have a lot of seniors to honor, but it is senior day. This line just in the last hour ticked up to 15. But if that number is smaller than you think or than you were expecting, you've got to understand UAB is a pretty good team. UAB is top 10 in the country in rushing yards per game and rushing yards per attempt. They're top, I think, 30 in defensive yards allowed per game. I'm not suggesting LSU should be on upset alert, but this is by far their most difficult one of those guarantee games that they play this year.
I will say this. Nick Saban lost to UAB at home when he was coaching at LSU. So it has been done before. It is not a good spot for LSU at all. They went to fight to, they clinched the SC title in a lackluster performance after beating Alabama. And
physical game too.
Yeah, frankly, I think they're going to be flat this week, looking ahead to Texas A&M, knowing that they have a chance to roll into the SC championship game. And I thought they would find a way to win last week. They hit the number on the nail. It was -3, and they hit it. And I think this game could be a very similar type game. I would not be okay, Kyle. I mean,
I think
I'll tell you what. I'll bet you
I'm like Kyle on that one.
I'll bet you anybody who wants to bet a po' boy that UAB covers.
All right, Spencer, you said you were with Kyle.
I'm not going to go bet money on it, but I'll go bet a po' boy.
Yeah, I'm with Kyle because UAB is pretty good, but that's a Conference USA team. Conference USA is not good. That's arguably the worst conference in college football. So I'm gonna say LSU wins by 20 plus.
It's not just the team.
I'll do it.
It's not just the team. I guarantee you, LSU spent as much time this week talking about Texas A&M and looking at Texas A&M and gloating about being in the SEC title game than they have about spending time on what UAB does, and that will bite a team in the butt more often than it won't.
I think Brian Kelly, but if it was still Coach O, I'd be yeah. But with Brian Kelly, they are a lot more focused. they've cleaned
Brian
up
Kelly's not playing defense.
A lot of stuff to where I think they'll be okay. I feel like under him, it's like they're. The Arkansas thing was kind of a letdown coming off of Alabama, but I think after the Arkansas game, that'll kind of wake them up, clean some things up, and I feel like UAB is going to get rolled.
Looks like you got a bet there, Jim. Kyle is ready to bet you a po' boy. Listen, I will say this: Brian Kelly won his last 51 games as a favorite at Notre Dame, and then they lost to Florida State this year as a favorite to open the year,
Did
and
he
then
cover?
they've won every game as a favorite. Not covering. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean not covering.
Big difference.
Yeah,
I think LSU is going to win.
Yeah, LSU is going to win. And if you say mop the floor like they could win by 17, yeah, I think that, I don't know that this is necessarily going to be a game where LSU fans are on upset alert until the final 5 minutes, but I do think it will be a competitive game into the second half. I also think, guys, if you're Brian Kelly and you've got, like you said, road trip to A&M next week. I know A&M's been a mess, but it's still a lot of talent in that roster, guys who want to beat you, et cetera, et cetera. And then Georgia the week after. If you have guys who are banged up, you're not playing them this week. Like, this is the week to give them a rest. Right. And so 100%. The rosters may not, the LSU depth may not be there. There may be more backups in the game. Like, if you have anybody, that's why these coaches schedule these games in week 12, is because they know that the team's going to be worn down. It's been several weeks since they had the bye week. They played Alabama. They played Arkansas. If guys are banged up, they ain't playing, or at least not playing very much in this game. Wait till you get a 14-3 lead and then take all the starters out and just kind of coast to the finish line. I think it's a recipe for a UAB cover. But we'll see. I'm not as confident as Jim. And like we said, in 2 weeks, the important one, the SEC championship game, Georgia is still sitting as a 16-point favorite.
That one I am confident about. I'm super confident about that one.
Taking
Georgia, you want to use the term wipe the floor? Georgia's going to wipe the floor with LSU.
I will say this. I will say this, though. I think the UAB obviously is much worse than Georgia. Similar type team, right? Yeah. Like, Harold Perkins is a terrific pass rusher. Well, UAB is going to want to run the ball just like Georgia will. So, this is a little bit of a tune-up game for LSU. Like, can you go ahead and put your foot down and stop the run against a team where you're going to have an advantage in the trenches? And then obviously you have to do that much more difficult against Georgia. Kyle says, week where the favorites prove they're the favorites, big boys will prove they're big boys. I'll tell you one exception to that. Western Kentucky's going to beat Auburn.
I got to tell you, this is a week. I don't really agree with that, except in the case of Georgia, because I think Kentucky's just at a point where they're going to give up. I think this is a week where a lot of the teams that are up there in the top 10 kind of stumble. I don't necessarily think lose, but they're looking ahead. They're looking ahead in their minds, not necessarily sitting in a room talking, and they're talking about the game that's coming the week after. But Ohio State is playing Michigan week after next. Their minds and souls and hearts aren't in the games they're playing this week. I would not bet on Ohio State or Michigan to save my soul. And look, this is a weird week. It's that weird second penultimate week of the last full Saturday. And I just think it's a weird week, and weird things are going to happen in college football. Now, next week is different. I'll feel different about some of these quote-unquote big boys. But they're not just going to – teams just don't go out there and wipe the floor with other teams.
Yeah, and you see some big numbers here, Jim. To your point, Michigan and Ohio State both laying big numbers. And Ohio State on the road, just way too many points against a Maryland team that, they're not bad. They're 6-4. And again, I don't know that Maryland can win the game, but 27.5 points. I mean, come on.
I ain't touching that.
The big USC-UCLA game, Spencer, is much bigger now for USC since UCLA lost last week. But it's going to be an interesting game. It should be a high-scoring one. Like, you want some Pac-12 after dark to end your Saturday night. That's the one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it should be pretty back and forth there. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams, though, in USC. I think they'll be able to get this one done. They just seem like they're on the upward path. They could be undefeated, barely lost to Utah earlier in the year. They're strong. They're strong. I like Utah over Oregon, too. Oregon's a fraud.
And by the way, get that off my screen. Get that off my screen. Curse words on this program. Come on.
That's awesome.
Hey, let us know and Bo Nix is not playing, I think, for Oregon, I think is the rumor. So that may be why Utah's favored as well.
That might be a blessing.
I was going to say.
But hey, Bo Nix has had a hell of a season, guys. He's had a hell of a season.
He's just picked on all those crappy Pac-12 teams, freaking
like
Colorado,
Michigan, Georgia,
Cal,
Ohio
Stanford.
State,
Okay, Kyle,
LSU to
I
cover.
think you should take your week's paycheck, Kyle. No, I'm just joking. When I say this, I'm completely joking. I don't want anyone to come back on me and say, but take whatever money you want to spend this weekend instead of going and bringing your wife out to dinner. And I think you should put it on the Michigan,
Don't bring
Georgia,
his wife into
OSU,
it, man. Let her have her
LSU
dinner.
cover and parlay, and then you could take her to dinner for the next 8 nights in a week on that parlay money you're going to win.
Oh, I guarantee you at least one of those teams will not cover. Probably 3 of them.
How often do I say this? I agree with Zach.
Yeah, I don't think Michigan covers, as we'll get to in big bucks. I think Ohio State could, though. Maryland has been stinking.
I think Georgia's the only one of those 4 that covers.
I think Michigan may be the only one of those 4 that covers. But we'll see.
I guess
we're all on different teams. Yeah.
If you parlay that, expect to be disappointed.
The other one for LSU fans and really Tennessee fans, I mean, you want USC to lose. You also want TCU to lose, and this is their last road game. It
doesn't matter for Tennessee.
I think it does.
No.
We can have that conversation. If TCU and USC both win out, they're going to be in the top 4.
So they're not going to be in the real top 4. It might be in your top 4.
We'll see.
There is no way. You can mark this down and play it back for me. There is 0 chance that TCU and USC are going to the college football playoff. 0 chance.
If they both,
no
they
can win out. They can do whatever they want. They can win 80 to nothing.
Losing this week.
Okay,
but if they win this week
agree.
and they go on and win their conference championships, they're going to get in.
I don't think it's going to happen either that they're going to win out either. But if they do, there is no way the NCAA will put TCU and USC in the playoff. They will not do it. It's about money. It doesn't make a difference who's better, who's not better, what's fair, what's not fair. It doesn't make a difference. It's all about money. No one wants to watch TCU and USC in a college football playoff.
No one wants to watch USC.
You might because you're a
Caleb
sicko.
Williams,
you're a sicko. You're a sicko.
No.
You like soccer.
I will agree with. Well, now hold on. We're going to get to that. I agree with you on TCU. USC has one of the bigger fan bases in the country, and by the way, the college football playoff championship is in Los Angeles this year. So you think they're going to leave USC out because of that?
I just don't think they're going to put both of them. I'm not saying they won't both. One of them won't be in. I'm telling you right now, Tennessee is. I think that they're got about a 90% chance to get in the playoff.
Every time I'd say every time. There's only been 2 times that the SEC got 2 teams in. There's only been 2 times, and both times, every other conference that got left out, their champion had at least 2 losses, and so the committee had a reason for doing that. Anytime there's been a 1-loss champion from a Power 5 conference, they've gotten in.
Money. No one wants to watch TCU.
Yeah, you can't leave an undefeated TCU.
You can do whatever you want when it's an
sick of the
game.
SEC. If anything, they're going to go with the non-SEC teams because people are sick of having multiple SEC
and people
teams.
Still going to watch. People can hate whoever they want. They can hate the SEC, talk back, and people will be chatting about it all week long.
They're going to watch no matter who it is, whether it's Tennessee or TCU. I really don't think that's going to affect the ratings.
Drop in the comments. I don't know about that, but if TCU is undefeated, they're already number 4. They're not going to leave them out. They're not going to leave them out.
Okay.
Drop in the comments who you think it, and this is a hypothetical. I don't really think this is going to happen, but if TCU and USC both win out, do they both get in the playoffs? Drop it in the comments. The other thing I want to hear from people tonight, are you watching Packers Titans?
I hope they go undefeated now. I hope they run through.
I hope they do too. Are you watching Packers Titans or are you watching SMU Tulane? Because the Greenies can still get in the American Championship. They can still get in the Cotton Bowl, actually. But they better win this game if they're going to do it. They're 3.5-point favorites tonight, Jim.
I'm watching St. Paul's Chalmette basketball because I'm calling it. So I have.
All right. Well. Did we lose Jim?
Can you not hear me?
I lost you just for a second.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I would be watching Green Bay, Tennessee. No offense to the Wave. They're just, I maybe have them on the computer, like on the side, watching it. But.
All right. Kyle and Nick both agree with me, by the way. What more evidence do you need?
Yeah, they're definitely.
Kyle and Nick. Oh, God. If Kyle and Nick agree, then never mind. Please, Zoe, when we're done with this, please erase this and get it out of. No one can ever see it again. I'm so wrong.
Yeah. Nick says, remember when Tulane was. Hey, we'll get to that comment in a minute. Zoe, what I actually want you to do is just clip out "I'm so wrong" and we'll just play
And
that
just play
whenever
it
we
over
need
and
it.
again.
Yeah,
You can play that next to horse hockey.
well, that'll be unbelievable. Remember that time Tulane was ranked and LSU wasn't? Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago. I mean, you talk about how things have changed.
Yeah.
So big weekend of football ahead. Also a big week of football ahead.
God. Wake me when
Here we
this
go,
is
Jim.
over.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. World Cup starts Sunday, baby. The best sporting event on earth. The most watched sporting event on earth. Watched by 5 times as many people as the Super Bowl, by the way. Brazil's the favorite. Argentina is second. European teams have won the last 4 World Cups. So Jim's sleeping. I don't know, Spencer. If a European team wins it, who do you like?
Man, yeah, it's I mean, I did a little research on it. I kind of like keeping up with it here and there. It's pretty interesting. I guess if I had to pick one, I kind of think it's maybe either England gets it done. I've heard good things about them. And I know they've had a lot of heartbreak. Haven't won it since like the '60s or something. But I think maybe they could be a dark horse. But it's
go with England. My wife would be
It's
very
nothing.
happy if England won. Hey, you picked Yannick Sinner to win Wimbledon, and you followed it. You got to pick somebody, Jim.
All right, I'm going to take give me Croatia.
Croatia. All
I'm
right.
I'm going to go put
$50 to
$1.
1.
I'm going to go put $1.10 on Croatia.
That 10 cents is going to be worth an extra $5 when they win.
Exactly. And I mean, that's enough to buy Kyle's po' boy because he didn't say where we were going to buy the po' boy.
Oh, you're going to take him to Po' Boy Express?
Absolutely.
World Cup Group B is the U.S.'s group.
Chinese crawfish, baby.
First games are Monday. And by the way, as you look at this, keep in mind the top 2 teams in each group advance. And if you want to bet on individual games, take a look at the bottom. It's 3-way. Now, you can look in and see what's called a draw no bet, to where if they draw you, it's a push. But typically the way you bet on soccer is a 3-way line. So you have to either bet on one side or the draw. And if you bet on a side and the game ends in a draw, you lose the bet. So that's why you'll see, like USA Wales, UFC plus numbers on all 3 outcomes, because you have to nail the exact outcome.
All right, enlighten me on this then. If I bet on Trinity and Tobago, do I get both of them? Or is it like a parlay?
It's really not fair that 2 countries get to play against one, is it?
That's what I'm saying.
But Trinidad and Tobago did not qualify.
I mean,
so
why don't they do the U.S. and Mexico? Now that I would watch.
By the way, Senegal is also 100 to 1, Kyle, but their top player is Sadio Mane out for the tournament with an injury. So
I'm really scared.
Be careful.
That you know that. I'm
gonna. You know what?
It really bothers me that you know that.
I'm announcing right now. Gabe Henderson and I are doing a World Cup preview show tomorrow on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Because
is that why Gabe got hired?
Because you guys are.
I mean, did you guys talk about soccer in the interview process? I want to know.
We actually did, because he's a Chelsea fan, and it would just make me mad.
Okay.
But he did. Believe me, Gabe is a soccer dude. We're going to do a World Cup preview. You guys are like just uncivilized.
It'll get at least 3 views. You, Gabe, and probably Gabe's mom. I'm just guessing.
The fact that I know Senegal is a good team, but Sadio Mane is out. He wants Old Time Grocery in Lafayette first. That's a good choice.
Oh, that
is a good choice.
Excellent play. I'll give it to you, Kyle. You finally week 11. You finally got something right. Good for you, buddy.
He stumbles into one every now and then. All right. Before we get into big bucks, actually, we'll save our Saints picks for last. We'll do big bucks first. How's that? All right, Jim. We're done with the soccer talk. Gabe and I are just going to do a whole show tomorrow on the World Cup.
All right, I'm wide awake now. Soccer's over.
We're going to do the whole show. I don't care.
Feeling good.
People will watch it, man. All right. My best bet,
snoozing.
49ers Monday night, -8 against the Cardinals. Couple of theories here for me, Jim. I know you said you're worried about this. Kyler Murray may play, but with a hamstring injury, he's not going to be as mobile as usual. I love the 49ers on both offensive and defensive lines, especially at high altitude. I think if they get a lead, the Cardinals are going to be gassed by the end of that game trying to stop the run. Love the 49ers in that spot. Same thing with Michigan, and I know it'll be a low-scoring game, but 2 similar teams, and I think Michigan just runs and doesn't give Illinois anything. UCLA lost last week. All the pressure's off, taking them at home as a dog. I took Browns Bills over. This is before the game was moved to Detroit, so I have to change this pick. I come back to me and I'll get you a total. And then my money line parlay: Ravens, Bills, and Broncos all to win. Pays like plus 133.
Hold on a minute.
So.
Weren't you giving Spencer grief last Thursday about his chalky money line parlay? And now you're doing the same doggone thing. I mean, really? Did you really? I mean, we could go get the tape if you want, but I really think you were giving Spencer wasn't here to defend himself, by the way.
Yeah, my dad told me about that. He was like, "Man, Zach blasted you for your money line parlay."
But listen, and did it hit? No, it did not hit. The doors were the ones that messed it up over Kentucky.
That's right.
The difference is that Spencer picked LSU, and then he had like 4 minus 1,500 favorites on there. Like it was the most.
Don't give the man grief, and then you come back and do some like almost same thing. I'm not saying it's a good bet or a bad bet. I actually liked Spencer's bet, and I do that often. I do a 5-team NFL parlay, money line parlay every week, and it's usually 4 favorites and one like 2 or 3 point favorite that I stick
Kyle,
with.
you're right. There's a better chance of them going over, but I've got to change the bet because the numbers changed. It's not 42 anymore. It's 48. Welcome back, Nick. Viva Brazil. Viva la Brasil. That's my pick to win the tournament, by the way. All right. Spencer is now in second place. Soccer. So you're going second, Guru.
All right, yeah, we got the Giants over the Lions there. I'm buying the Giants. You know, Saquon, man, he's on a mission. Lions have a terrible run defense, so they should win that handily. And then I didn't want to do this for the chalk pick, but I had to just because I feel like the Ravens are going to absolutely talk about wipe the floor. I think they're going to wipe the floor with the Baker Mayfield-led Carolina Panthers. And then the Rams Saints, I had to go with the Rams just because I don't trust anything the Saints are doing right now. And Matthew Stafford's back, so even more reason to like the Rams there. And then Illinois, Michigan under. 2 best defenses in the Big Ten. Should keep that one real low score, and both run-first teams. Should be a quick game. And then for the wild card, man, the Bears, liking the Bears this week. Atlanta, not a good football team. They really got exposed on Thursday night against Carolina. And Justin Fields, man, he's been putting up such good numbers. I think this is the week he finally translates those numbers into a victory.
Just going to leave that one up there for a sec.
Oh, my God.
You mean outright? You're talking with the points or like outright?
Come on. Baker Mayfield.
Stunner, and it would also knock me out of my
$100,000
survivor pool. But I will say this, Baker Mayfield's better than P.J. Williams.
I'll tell you what, take next week's money you're going to spend with your wife on dinner and go bet on that. And then you'll have he can eat for
Jim,
like a year.
Jim, the woman needs to eat, man. You can't be taking away these dinners.
I mean, she probably weighs like 60 pounds if he's making these bets.
No comment. All right, Jim. I think you might have been copying off Spencer with that last one there, but your picks.
Well, Spence and I we talked this week, and we weren't happy that you made fun of him on the show. So we're ganging up on you, and we both like the Bears money line of the Falcons. I completely agree. I think the Falcons slide has completely started. The slide we expected like in late September, it just took a little while. It started in late October instead of late September, and they are who we thought they were. And I don't understand why they're giving 3 points to the Bears, because the Bears are a better football team. So I think that's actually in my best bets, actually the Bears +3, but I had to pick a wild card here, so I took the money line. I still think
that line doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't
make any sense.
Really doesn't. But my best bet of the week, the teaser has been rolling, so we're not going to stop now. The Minnesota Vikings, talking about lines that don't make sense. The 8-1 Vikings are at home getting 1.5 points from the Cowboys. That doesn't make any sense. And so I
think the Cowboys could win, but I love it on a teaser. I mean, I will say the Vikings play nothing but close games.
It wouldn't shock me if the Cowboys won.
Yeah. Vikings play nothing but close games.
Which is why I don't want
I like that teaser.
Stay away from the line. And so I'll take that, and I'll take the Rams +9.5. It was 10 yesterday. It's 9.5 now. That's okay. Well, actually, it's 9 now, I would guess. But when I put my picks in, it was 9.5. And just going through my other picks real quickly, like I said, Broncos, Raiders. I think the Raiders they're going to quit. I think Russ is actually, as much as I've been talking bad about him, I think he's going to have something to prove the last half of the season. I think he's going to get better. And then my dog. I love my dog. The Texans, the Commanders are in a terrible spot after everybody. You want to talk about Mabel. Mabel's going to be betting all over the Commanders this week. And that line seems weird, +3. It'll get to 3.5. So if you like the Texans like me, wait on it. It will get to 3.5 probably by the end of the day or tomorrow. And then I didn't like a total. That's $1.10
$1.10.
So
Man.
I think in my best bets, I have
put $5 on it.
I have no, I didn't want to put $5 on it. I have the Patriots.
Big spender.
Patriots -3. Patriots have won 13 in a row in this series and 16 of the last 17. And of the 13 games, they've won all but one by 3 or more. The other one, they won by exactly 3. So the Patriots.
Jim makes me do math, man. He's got all these. He's always betting $1.10 and betting +143. And
$1.10 not hard to figure out, Zach. It's -110.
No, but when you're going to lose, then I have to take the 10 cents off. And
well, I mean, I could have bet like 247.
I will say this: I almost took Houston in Survivor, just to pivot.
That would have been interesting.
I mean, it would be a total pivot, but
not a bad.
In mine, you got to take 2 teams a week.
If you want to take a risk,
you got to take 2 teams a week, and so you got to use almost all the teams by the end of the season. You're not going to get much better spot to take Houston than on a short week. Washington coming off of a big upset.
Jacksonville, when they play Jacksonville.
Possibly Jacksonville. Although I think they play them in Jacksonville.
Second to last week.
Anyway, that's our show for today, except for Saints pick. Saints Rams. Spencer, you already gave yours. You taking the Rams. What final score you got?
Oh man, yeah, I think it's gonna be. Yeah, kind of on those ugly kind of games. I don't know. I guess I'll go. I was thinking, with Matthew Stafford back, though, I think it'll be a little more points than expected. Like, I think what was the total at like 39, like super low. But I'm going to go Rams 24, Saints 20.
All right. Jim?
Oh, man. I want to pick the Rams just on principle because, I mean, has there really been a worse decision in the NFL this year than to say?
Yes.
Okay, what?
Yes. Just give me a second. I'll think of one. Because I really don't think it's that egregious.
It's awful. It's ridiculous. It's obscene. It's bad. All right. I'm going to take. Look. I'm not going to do it out of spite. So I'm going to pick what I think is going to happen. I think the Saints are going to win this week, but I don't think they're going to win by much. I certainly would not touch the Saints or the Rams in a spread. I like the teaser on both sides, to be honest. I don't think the Saints or if the Saints lose, I don't think they're going to lose by much. If the Rams lose, I don't think the Rams are going to lose by much. So I don't know. Saints 20-17.
I got one for you. Worst decision, and you're going to laugh at this because I know Sam Ellinger is not better than Matt Ryan in any.
Yeah,
you have a point. Okay, I agree with you on that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that was a worst decision, and it got Frank Reich fired. So then it sounds not.
No,
quite
it didn't.
That
was Irsay doing that. That wasn't Frank Reich.
Yeah,
Irsay said. How come he hired Saturday, who then turned around?
Because Saturday probably told him, "Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll start Ellinger." Okay, and then gets in there and does what he wants.
Another soccer reference. Kyle said the Saints have the power of healing. My soccer club is Tottenham, and a lot of times you'll hear the phrase "Dr. Tottenham." And the team's struggling, Tottenham will come play them, and they'll beat them. Dr. Tottenham's here to heal you. So Dr. Dennis Allen is here to heal the Rams this week.
What's the team that Ted Lasso coaches? That's the one I want to win.
AFC Richmond, baby.
There you go.
Kyle, 37-20. Are you taking the Rams? I'm taking it because you're Mr. They're going to go 3-14 now. So I don't think the Rams can score 37 points on anybody.
It's going to be a low-scoring game. I like the under.
Yeah, I'm going to go 24-17 Saints.
That's over.
Yeah, that'll be over by a couple of points. So I'll go we'll call it 23-17. I'll say the Saints win by 6. So that's my pick. Final thoughts, guys.
Did you say 24-17?
23-17.
Oh, okay. You changed.
23-17. I changed. Yeah, Kyle says he's taking the Rams. Final thoughts, guys. World Cup coming up this weekend. I know you're excited about all that. Big weekend of college football, second to last regular season week, and of course the NFL rolling on.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the Pels for my final thought, man.
You stole mine.
They won the two in a row on the back-to-back, and I don't know what it is. They just seem like they actually play better without Zion. Zion's been out the past couple games, and just their chemistry without him seems to be on point. But the issue with that is, though, they're going to have to learn how to win with him if they really want to make some noise come playoff time. So hopefully they can figure it out. Still got plenty of time, but just interesting that they seem to almost be better off without him.
Jim, final thought from you?
Well, if you haven't heard enough ranting, I can't wait to ask Jeff Duncan tomorrow morning what he thinks about the whole Winston and Jameis thing, because Dunk's usually the guy who talks me off the ledge. And I got a feeling that he's gonna kind of be in my corner. And I have no idea. I have not talked to him all week, so I don't know what he's gonna say. So live data 2 tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. It should be a fun one because I'm still pretty done. I guess I'm gonna use family words on here, things that I wouldn't say, that I can say on my podcast. I can't say here.
Yeah, check that out on this same Bayou Bets YouTube channel tomorrow morning. And I'm going to go ahead and also take the Pels for my final thoughts, Spencer, because my 7-year-old son asked for Pelicans tickets for his birthday in September, and the game that I chose was tomorrow night's game against the Celtics. So early line has the Celtics by 2.5. We're hoping Zion plays. Should be a lot of fun.
By the way, we asked for tickets too. I mean, remember we went to a game last year, and I mean,
yeah. So you already got your tickets.
Well, that was last year. This is a whole new year.
new season.
I mean,
listen, times are tight for Santa. Okay, times are tight. No, we will do something. And also, look, if you're in Baton Rouge, I'm going to be out at the Smiling Dog at 1:00 on Monday to watch the USA Wales. So stop by.
I thought you were going to say to sign your book.
If I had a book, I would sign
How to Watch Soccer Without Sleeping.
No, USA Wales will be a ton of fun. 1:00 on Monday, and then USA England 1:00 on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So, listen, it's a good atmosphere. Smiling Dog, or I would recommend Finn McCool's in New Orleans if you are in New Orleans. Will be a lot of fun. It's a little bit different to have it in the fall, but the World Cup's still one of the best sporting events there is. So that will do it for us here on Bayou Bets. We'll be back Monday at 4:00. Jim has Datitude tomorrow morning. We'll talk World Cup, Saints, Rams, LSU, anything else next week. See you then.